Welcome back. Despite negative portrayals of Islam in the media, many Westerners continue to embrace the faith. What can converts learn from Islamic spirituality? Do we need to develop safe spaces for newcomers to Islam? To explore these questions, we're joined by Imam Yasin Dwyer, a chaplain at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. Welcome to the show, Imam Yasin.
Thank you.
So a couple of months back when you had first come on the show, we talked about the convert experience. And now I want to focus a little bit about, your experience when you were working as a prison chaplain. What are some of the spiritual lessons that you felt were important for Muslim prisoners to take away when they were converting?
Well, ultimately, all deeds are judged by the intention. And we have to make sure that our intentions are sincere. And there's a story that I would introduce to all of the offenders that I worked with who embraced Islam. And there was this particular man, a pious man, reputation for piety. He had come to learn that the people of his particular village had started worshiping a tree. And he got very upset, and he decided that he was going to chop down the tree. So he got his machete, or his cutlass, as they say in the Caribbean, and he decided to go and chop down the tree. But along the way, he meets a man, a stranger, and the stranger asks him, "Where are you going?" And the pious man says that, "I'm going to chop down this tree that my people have taken as an idol." So the stranger says, "I can't let you do that." But the pious man says, "No, I have to chop down the tree." So they began to fight. They started fighting, right? But finally, the pious man subdued the stranger, and the stranger, called out and said, "Please, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal." And so the pious man, giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, he wants to hear what the proposal is. So the stranger says that, "I will give you silver coins every day for the rest of your life. Think of all the good that you can do with these silver coins. You can feed the hungry, help the poor, destitute, needy, marginalized. Just don't chop down that tree." So the pious man reflects on this and says, "Yeah, I could do a lot of good with those silver coins." So he decides to leave the tree. So he goes back to his home, he puts away his cutlass, and he wakes up, goes to sleep, wakes up in the morning, opens his door, and he sees the silver coin. And he takes the silver coin and he spends it, on the poor, the destitute, the needy, the marginalized, etc. Goes back home, goes to sleep, wakes up the next day, the same thing. And this went on and on for months and months. Every day he was getting a silver coin. One day he wakes up, opens his door, but there's no silver coin. So he goes back, gets his machete, his cutlass, and he begins sharpening it up. And he goes out to do what? To chop down the tree. Along the way he meets the same stranger. The stranger asks him, "Where are you going?" The pious man says, No, none of that. Get out of my way, I'm going to chop down the tree." So, "No, I can't let you do that." "Yes, I am." "No, you're not." "Yes, I am." And they start to fight again. But this time, the stranger subdues the pious man. And the pious man calls out and says, "How is it before I defeated you, but today you defeat me?" And the stranger looks at him with contempt and says, "Because before when you fought me with the intention of pleasing God. But today you're fighting me for the silver coins." So all deeds are judged by the intention. So with those who are new to Islam, they have to, talk to themselves and ask themselves, am I truly sincere about my journey, my spiritual journey to Islam? Or rather, am I doing it to be seen or for some worldly purpose, right? That is the question that I introduce to those who are new to Islam, and it really focuses on the issue of sincerity and intention.
I don't even know what to say. That's a very powerful story, but I think you kind of answered this question about why you place an emphasis on spirituality when you were talking to new converts. But maybe from the broader, because in the mainstream Muslim community, the idea of spirituality is not as stressed. And why do you think that is?
Well, there is an emphasis upon formalism, right? What you do. Because we have to understand that Islam is a religion of doing. Islam is about practice, right? We have the pillars of Islam that revolve around the declaration of faith, prayer, zakah or charity, fasting, and performing the pilgrimage if you're able, right? This is the formal part of our faith that has to do with action, what we do. There's also a dimension that relates to what we must know, which is called Iman, or faith, belief, right? Believing in the oneness of God, believing in the angels, all of the prophets and messengers, believing in all of the books, believing in the last day, and believing in what is called qadr, or destiny. Whatever comes to us was never meant to pass us by, and whatever passes us by was never meant to come to us. That has to do with what we must know, but there's also a third dimension which relates to what we must become, which is called ihsan, which has to do with beautifying. Beautifying what we do and beautifying what we know. And that really is the home of spirituality, because that does not necessarily have to do with the outer, but rather it has to do with the inner. And if the inner life is solid, if the inner life is vigorous, then indeed what we do and know will be revived and will be beautiful and will make our faith complete. This is really what we should emphasize when it relates to spirituality, because spirituality really, matters of the heart, that's the engine of the religion. That's really the engine of the religion.
And this is obviously, this balanced approach of spirituality and the practice is really what's drawing non-Muslims to the new faith. But how can we create safe spaces within mosques for new converts so that there's a balanced approach with both spirituality and, you know, the things that we're actually supposed to do?
Well, we have to have knowledge, and we have to learn, and we have to share goodness with each other. And those who are new to Islam have to recognize that they need to have a life not isolated, but a life as a part of a community. Because even, you know, our religious rituals, they relate to community. You know, we pray together, right? The charity is for the community. The pilgrimage that we perform is with, you know, over 1 billion fellow believers. So there is a communal aspect to that. So we have to make sure that you know, those who convert to Islam feel that they are a part of a spiritual community. Because we can't live our spiritual life by ourselves, right? We have to share that spiritual energy with fellow believers.
And how do you find that the mosques are able to do that?
Well, we have a lot of work to do, and there is this phenomenon of you know, those who are not connected to the mosque as maybe they should be. And you know, there are 4 types of Muslims. You know, there's one type of Muslim that's in the mosque, you know, 5 times a day for the 5 daily prayers. There's another type of Muslim who's in the mosque every Friday for the Friday afternoon congregational prayer. And there's another type of Muslim which is in the mosque only for Eid. You only see them for the Eid after Ramadan and the Eid after the pilgrimage. And there's another type of Muslim whom you only see in the mosque once in a lifetime, and that is for their funeral prayer. So there is diversity. There is diversity with those who attend the mosque. So converts really are no different. But we have to make the mosque as it was intended to be, the axis of the community, or the nucleus of the community, where people feel comfortable, where you can be who you want to be, and you can grow in your spirituality in a very natural, organic, and pure way, without judgment, without feeling that you're being watched excessively. We have to make sure that this space is a space where we feel as though we are in the sacred presence. We're in the presence of God. And this is really what we need in all of the masajid, all of the mosques, because if we sacrifice the mosque for some petty purpose, what's going to happen is that instead of being you know, a nucleus for blessing, it may be a nucleus for other than a blessing. So we have to be very intentional about making mosques comfortable, safe, secure for those who are seeking the presence of God.
So I'm going to ask you a bit of a tough question.
Yes.
How do we deal if there is hysteria that's coming from within the Muslim community? It's normal these days, unfortunately, to get, converts face a lot of challenge from mainstream media about stigmatizing them as, being terrorists or whatever the case may be. But recently there have been imams, leaders within the mosque, who have said that, once someone converts to Islam, they should get a stamp of approval. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we have to calm people's fears, and people are afraid. It's understandable that people are afraid, concerning some of the current events that we've been exposed to related to religion. But we have to do our best not to speak into the fear in a dysfunctional way. Dogs usually bark at strangers. So we can't be strangers to each other anymore. And we have to advise our leaders, advise our imams, advise our teachers that, those who convert to Islam are seeking God. And we have to facilitate that. And we have to make it easy for them to find that sacred presence and not make it more difficult by speaking into this fear and hysteria that we see around us. Islam is a religion of peace, of security, of tranquility. So we have to project that to those who are seeking that in our sacred spaces.
Very empowering and powerful messages. Thank you once again, Imam Yasin.
Thank you.